All right, today we're going to dive into one of the most dramatic stories in all of tech history. It's a story about a spectacular rise, a truly catastrophic fall, and a secret rebirth you might not even know about. We're talking, of course, about BlackBerry.
Okay, so to really get this, you have to understand that at its peak, a BlackBerry wasn't just a phone. No way. It was the status symbol. I mean, think about it. When Barack Obama became president, he literally fought his own Secret Service just so he could keep his BlackBerry. That's how indispensable this thing was.
And yet, you fast forward just a few years, and that same company, the one presidents were fighting for, it had basically vanished. I mean, completely gone from the public eye. Its market share, it went from total absolute dominance to, well, a statistical rounding error. 0.
So the big question is, how on earth does that happen, right? How does the undisputed king of smartphones, a company that basically defined an entire era, completely miss the future it helped create? Well, that's what we're here to figure out. Let's dig in. Before we can get to the collapse, we have to talk about the peak. Because to really feel the impact of the fall, you've got to understand just how high they climbed. And believe me, back in the mid-2000s, BlackBerry felt absolutely invincible. And that Obama story really gets to the heart of what made BlackBerry, well, BlackBerry. It wasn't just about getting your email on the go. It was about security. We're talking ironclad, Fort Knox level security. This was the only phone that governments, huge banks, you name it, the only phone they trusted with their deepest secrets.
And for all the professionals who carried one, oh man, this thing was addictive. So addictive. You know that little blinking red light that meant you had a new message? It was like a siren's call. You just had to check it. It was so powerful that it got its own nickname, one that became part of the culture, the CrackBerry. You simply could not put it down. And the scale of their dominance, it was just staggering. I mean, they basically invented mobile email in '99. Just a few years later, they're an $80 billion company with almost 80 million people paying them every single month. They built this whole global empire on two things, that amazing clicky keyboard and that bulletproof reputation for security. But then, 2007 happened. A new challenger stepped onto the stage. And BlackBerry's leadership? Well, they didn't just misunderstand it, they completely misread the entire situation, leading to what might be one of the single biggest blunders in corporate history.
So Steve Jobs gets on stage, unveils the very first iPhone, and what does BlackBerry's co-CEO do? He basically shrugs it off in public. This quote says it all. He thought talk of a sea change was overstating it, and behind closed doors, they were even more dismissive. They called the iPhone a toy, just a little media player for consumers that couldn't possibly threaten their serious business customers.
And right here, this is the whole story in a nutshell. They were playing completely different sports. See, BlackBerry was laser-focused on perfecting the ultimate communication device, all about the hardware, the security. Apple, on the other hand, they were building a tiny computer that fit in your pocket. Their game was all about software, the user experience, and this brand new idea of an app store. BlackBerry was selling a tool. Apple was selling a platform. BlackBerry just didn't see that the whole world was about to care way more about the platform.
And that one single, fatal miscalculation, that blindness to the massive shift that was happening, well, it kicked off a collapse that was faster and more brutal than anyone could have predicted. So, what was their big answer to the iPhone? It was a phone called the BlackBerry Storm, and it was an absolute unmitigated disaster. It was so bad, so rushed, so full of bugs that its own employees nicknamed it the shitstorm. That weird clickable touchscreen was a nightmare to use, it crashed constantly, they literally had to replace every single one they sold. The whole thing ended up costing them $500 million, a total catastrophe. And you have to remember the timing of this. This epic failure wasn't from a company on its last legs. This happened when they were on top of the world. They had more than 50% of the entire US smartphone market. They had literally everything to lose. And boy, did they lose it. Just look at how fast the floor fell out. In 2009, they're sitting pretty with over 40% of the market. Just 2 years later, boom, they're down to about 10%. And by 2016, poof, it's gone. Zero. The king was officially dead.
Okay, so by 2013, BlackBerry is in a death spiral. The company is just bleeding cash, and it looks like it's all over. So in a Hail Mary move, the board brings in this guy, John Chen, who was known as a kind of corporate miracle worker, to basically try and pull off the impossible. And Chen's plan was, well, it was brutal. But it was also brilliant. He basically performed emergency surgery on the company. He knew that the only way to save BlackBerry was to kill the BlackBerry phone. He had to stop the financial bleeding, and that meant getting out of the hardware business fast. Then, he bet the entire future of the company on its hidden gems, its software, and its security technology.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most surprising chapter of this story. Because yeah, the BlackBerry phone company is dead and buried. But BlackBerry, the company, what is it today? I promise you, the answer is not what you think.
So get this, you probably haven't even seen a BlackBerry phone in, a decade? But there's a really good chance you used BlackBerry technology today and had no idea. See this number? Over 275 million cars on the road right now are running on BlackBerry's QNX software. It's the brain behind your car's entertainment system, the dashboard, even some of the safety features.
The new BlackBerry is an invisible giant, a software titan that works completely behind the scenes. They took that original DNA, that obsession with security, and they applied it to really critical, modern problems. We're talking about the software in our cars, securing communications for most of the world's biggest governments, protecting the world's largest banks, and even diving into AI-powered cybersecurity.
So what do we take away from all this? The BlackBerry phone is dead, for sure. But is the company more alive than ever? It's a fascinating question, right? By having the guts to let go of the very thing that made them famous, BlackBerry actually managed to forge a new, profitable, and maybe even a more resilient future. It's just a powerful lesson from the ruthless world of tech. Sometimes, the only way to survive is to be willing to destroy what you are and completely reinvent yourself.